Gina. Thank you very much, Gina. I'm really happy to be here to share this day and this subject matter with all of you. And I want to begin by just sharing with you what a spectacular job Gina and her team have done. You may remember the executive order which said the president will aim to announce the NDC at the summit. The aim was not that he had any question about wanting to do that. The aim was whether or not Gina or anybody could pull together all the parties that had to be part of preparing an NDC. A gigantic administrative organizational task, which Gina and her entire team have done really superbly. And I mean that. That's not a pro forma comment. It is hard to get all of the disparate elements of your government together, the president, by issuing his executive order, to make this the climate issue and all of government enterprise, and instructing every single cabinet officer and every single agency officer to comprehensively factor climate consequences into every decision that they were making. And they have done that. And Gina created this task force. We've never had an all-of-government task force on this subject ever before. We had it now because Gina's creation, and it's worked. And that's what brought everybody together to get this ambitious but appropriate, achievable goal in place. So I salute her and I thank her for that. It's a great service. And everywhere that I went in the world in the course of the last months, first question out of people's mouths was, what's your NDC going to be? What are you guys going to do? You've destroyed your credibility. You've left the Paris Agreement. How can we trust you? What's going to happen in the next 4 years? And to which there is a very, very powerful answer, which is no politician, I think, could change what is now happening globally in the marketplace. And that is part of the message of what's happened here today and in the last few days. You've had, yesterday we announced the Net Zero Bank Alliance. We announced the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. And we have some 43 financial institutions across the world worth some, I forget the exact sum, 40-some trillion dollars or something in terms of assets managed. And just yesterday, a number of banks announced, 6 banks to be precise, that they are allocating or setting or making a commitment that they will invest into climate-related efforts, initiatives, investments, $4.16 trillion over the next 10 years. That's been a really missing element in all of this. So I'm really happy to be here today for a number of reasons. First of all, just parenthetically, 5 years ago today, I had my granddaughter on my knee in New York and signed the Paris Agreement. And that was a great moment for everybody in the world when everybody came together in New York excitedly to set out on this venture. Regrettably, without any facts, without any science, without any rationale that would be considered reasonable, the former president decided to pull out. He was the only president in the entire world, the only chief of state in the entire world who, without any scientific evidence, decided to pull out of the Paris Agreement. So when President Biden was elected, having made climate one of the most critical issues of his agenda, we had a big step to get up. We had to restore America's credibility. We had to prove that we were serious. And I think today does that in many ways. And not in a chauvinistic, in a way that's sort of inappropriate to our relationship with other countries, but in a way that reinforces the fact that this is multilateral, that we need to bring all the countries of the world to the table, and we all need to raise ambition. That's the central theme of this meeting today. We must all raise ambition. And you heard that in, I thought, profoundly meaningful, moving, understandably frustrated and angry words, tame for anger, words that came from Shea Bastida. And that's where a lot of the younger generation is today, appropriately pretty upset at the adults, the alleged adults, who are not getting their act together to make happen what needs to happen. We aren't there yet either, but today we built a huge foundational building block in the effort to get there. So the importance of today, in my judgment, is this: the world came together. President Xi, Prime Minister Modi, President Putin, presidents of small countries and big countries, President Macron, Chancellor of Germany, the EU itself, independently, people in the financial marketplace and others, all of them in agreement that this is a crisis. It is the climate crisis, and it's going to require an enormous lift to get where we need to go. So what happened today, just to underscore where we are, on January 19th, we were nowhere. We were in deficit with respect to our efforts. And because of President Biden's leadership and calling a summit and putting us on the line to do this, we now have about 55% of the global GDP committed to levels of reductions that keep faith with holding the Earth's temperature at 1.5 degrees. That is a big chunk of difference. And we've done that working with countries, sitting down with them, with Japan, with Korea, with Australia, with Indonesia, with India, with the Middle East, with 11 countries at one meeting where even oil-producing countries stepped up and made things clear. Of course, China included, as well as some Latin American countries and African countries. So I'm pleased with where we are, but I'm not sanguine. The next 6 months of diplomacy are going to be absolutely critical to the capacity to make Glasgow what it needs to be. I do believe Glasgow remains our last best hope to be able to coalesce the world in the right direction and to get the critical mass of countries, of the 20 biggest emitters who are responsible for 81% of all the emissions. All 20 of them were here today. And almost all 20 of them were pledging to do additional things. So that's our job, is to clarify it over the course of these next weeks and months. I just clarify very quickly, Japan said they'd cut emissions 46 to 50% by 2030. Strong efforts towards achieving a 50% reduction, up from its existing 26% reduction. Canada strengthening from a current 30% to a 40 to 45%. The Republic of Korea terminating overseas coal finance and preparing to update its NDC consistent with the 2050 net zero goal. India, a partnership with the United States to deploy 450 gigawatts of renewable power. Why is that important? Because if we can do that, which is where our finance component of this is so critical, if we do that, India is on track to hold the 1.5 degrees centigrade. So Argentina announced a package of important measures. UK last week just announced 78% target by 2035. And yesterday, EU announced a new law to embed the 55% reduction for 2030 and also the net zero. So, I think that it's progress, but we still have a heavy lift, and no one should doubt the challenges of the road ahead. So happy to be here.
All right, I know we're very close to the